Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour, your source for all hard rock, heavy metal, new metal, alternative, punk, horror punk, hardcore, rock, and all local bands with your host, John the Bod, aka the Bodfather.
Dear vampires out there, this is Jyrki from the 69 Eyes, your favorite Helsinki vampire. And guess what? You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
The views and opinions of the guests do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Radio Network, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Radio Network.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, aka the Bodfather, and as always, I'm bringing you guys awesome interviews. Today, it's an honor and a very huge privilege to have Mr. Jyrki, 69. He's the vocalist of the 69 Eyes. Finland's dark rockers, the 69 Eyes, will release their 12th studio album, West End, via Nuclear Blast on September 13th, right in time for the band's 30th anniversary, and that speaks high volumes right there. This album features several guest vocalists, including Cradle Filths, Danny Filth, Wednesday 13, and Bisto Blanco's Calico Cooper. We're going to be talking to Jyrki about all this good stuff. So, Jyrki, how's it going, my friend?
Yeah, howdy, hi, brother. How you doing, man? It's great times, and actually, as we are speaking here now on Friday, it's actually August 16th, and it's a day like 1977. Elvis Presley left us, so it's a special day in that sense as well.
Oh, wow. Wow, I didn't even realize that for today. Oh,
yeah.
Geez.
Yeah, you should play some Elvis or at least put a candle on. Or,
sure.
You know.
Yeah, definitely. Or eat a banana sandwich or something other.
Yeah, however you remember him, but it's a special dark day because everything in my case everything relates to that because I saw the news when I was 7 years old, and then there was a big funeral on the news, and I was asking from my mom, like, what's going on? Who is this guy? And he said it's an American artist called Elvis Presley, and I didn't know anything about rock and rolls, and I checked it out, and ever since that, I'm still here, and I after that I found out who he was and why he was so important, why were all these people mourning around him. So that's everything started in my side from that moment. I saw Elvis' funeral and, I became a rocker.
Before we dive deep into the interview, would you say he's been a huge influence on your career, possibly?
Yeah, of course. And being a rocker at the age of 50, he's still the most important person who has ever inspired me. And his inspiration will be endless. There's always something interesting, and he's very inspiring as a human being, artist, and all the legacy, mysteries, everything which is around and included with Elvis. It's always interesting.
Yeah.
I could even say like I'm not interested in that so many things anymore. But Elvis is always very interesting in many ways and important. I think he's getting more important all the time. These days when the music is like music's importance, and it's kind of like sometimes it's the magic seems to be gone at some point. And these old things become more and more important. If you think of like we're living in a world without Motorhead, without David Bowie, and many other things. So, those things still matter. And once you hear a Motorhead song, you're like, wow, this was so great. Or David Bowie is mentioned everywhere now, So same thing with Elvis. It's like Elvis is still here. He's more here than ever,
True.
I think.
I agree with you 1,000% because it seems like his music has just gotten more and more out there. Than compared to what it was.
We need that.
Yes.
We're living in a fucking dark times, and we need some light at the end of the tunnel. Elvis can be one of the lights.
Yep.
He's always there comforting us when we need help,
Jyrki, how's it been working with Nuclear Blast so far for you guys?
They're pure metal label. The 69 Eyes is not that much metal. we're some kind of weird hybrid. We are rock and roll, glam and goth, a little bit of metal, but Nuclear Blast is pure metal label. But for us, it's been perfect because they don't have, they have working greatly for us over the years. We have free hands to create our music, pick up the singles, do the videos, make the record covers, and so on. And then they are, they're great home for a band like us. And then, like you can see, actually, when we were, signed to Nuclear Blast, the times were a little bit different. Now there's like Slayer and, Cradle of Filth. Everybody is on Nuclear Blast these days.
It's a shame that Slayer is already hanging it up. So, I can't believe
Yeah,
that.
but are you sure that they won't release any new music?
Honestly, I think they will.
Yeah, me too. I just saw them, I think, twice, like less than a year, and they're better than ever. Mm-hmm. I mean, respect for the guys who are not playing with them anymore, but like they matter more. Like I just mentioned, Motorhead, Bowie, Elvis, come on, Slayer, man. I mean, but they deserve rest, and they've served already for us. That's fine, but I think they matter more than ever.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, it blows my mind that we're losing and lost some great metal musicians that can still pave the way for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And then they're in their rocking chairs, and we're scratching our heads, like, what the hell happened? But there's some new great metal bands coming up. For instance, like my favorite new band that I see this summer at the metal festivals was like Power Trip.
Yeah,
that's a great new band. They don't pretend to be from the past. Like playing thrash metal. There's other cool bands, but it's been more like sometimes I felt like they're more like some bands have been having the vibe that they're like thrash metal version of like Steel Panther. You know what I mean? Like they are like retro on purpose. But Power Trip, they're like they're 2019, they're 2020 fresh, cool metal band.
There's a band from Germany that I absolutely love, and I discovered them on YouTube, actually, and they're called Tenside. They are badass.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
Cool. I have to check that out. I haven't heard about them.
They are great, Jyrki. I'm telling you right now, they're phenomenal.
Cool. There is a lot of bands, if you pay an attention. So sort of like it's no use to sink into depression if Slayer call it a day, because or some other artists are just leaving the planet, because there's new good stuff coming up, even from the some artists team up together and come up with some new fresh ideas or something. So you have to just be active.
This is the 69 Eyes 12th studio album. In today's music world, some bands only put out an EP or an album, then they're done. How does it feel to still be able to put out albums as the 69 Eyes as today's world is?
First of all, it's great to create, and we have more music than this coming up. I just told our lead guitarist just to start to write demos. Like, let's start to write, like before that's how I think, that's how I do things. People who are involved in my life, they are sometimes they have to slow me down, but the new album is not even out. And I've been telling, when we drove back from a festival, I just had a lecture for our lead guitarist who writes most of the music, like, hey, you have to have like 5 new songs as soon as possible, and the new album is not even out. But that's how I would like to work, because I want to be creative. I am in my best times of being creative, inspired, and so on. Having 12th album out sounds kind of like I don't like. It sounds weird. I mean, Beatles put out 12 albums, so I honestly I've been secretly, I haven't told this to anybody, but I've been secretly thinking like maybe this should be our last. So then we could say like, oh, Beatles had 12 albums only, so did the 69 Eyes. But on the other hand, next album will be the 13th So that's kind of cool numbers, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
13, yeah.
with the 40th album, I will have difficulties to come up with some positive outlook for that. But maybe some Bible or something, I don't know, numbers from there or something. But or something. But I think we love to write. We have the certain songs. We have certain legacy of songs that people come to listen to from us. Those are songs that we wrote. Our most famous song during our live set is not a cover song that we are performing. You know, some bands are famous from, you know, making some cover song famous or something like that. It's our own songs we have written. People know the lyrics. They like the music that we write and so on. So why not to deliver them new music? And so we just and we feel that the fans want new music from us. So why not? And it's always cool to create new stuff. And especially in this case, I've been saying recently, like, this is our best album. It has like elements from our past, and it sounds nothing like ourselves. But it's kind of it's very like it has a lot of energy. It's energetic, and it doesn't sound like a band that has been playing. Well, it doesn't sound like 12th album, or it doesn't sound like band that has been playing 30 years.
Yeah.
I don't like those either terms. 12th album, ooh, that sounds kind of like a creepy, covered with spider webs. And band that has been playing 30 years, they're probably mummies. You know, that sounds. I tried to not to reveal that we have been playing 30 years this year. Somebody said like, hey, we have to celebrate that. I said like, hey, come on, never mind. Let's just put the new album out. Maybe they don't notice. So we don't actually celebrate that much. If you are interested in the fact that we are 80s band, started 1989, we will release a documentary with the physical product of the album. If you buy it as a CD, there's going to be a Blu-ray disc with it. Where is a documentary, and we're explaining it all. But other than that, I know that the fans like that too. But I don't know how to explain that, and because I feel like it's a lot shorter time, but it's always been fun. It's like fun means that it's been exciting, adventurers, and it's cool. We're rockers, we're outlaws. You know, like we just play rock and roll because we feel it's right. There's a deeper meaning for us to play in this band. It's not a job. It's something else. It's more like a gang. We've been part of this gang like 30 years, and you know, like it's at the time we started it, we were at our late teens, early 20s. It was cool to belong to something, you know. It was cool that you went to, you know, to bar, and the doorman said, "Oh, your band members are already here. They are on your table," or something like that. It was cool. Or somebody came, "Oh, I just saw your bass player Trunk here earlier." You know, it was cool. You belong to something. You know, you weren't just a lone wolf. And on the other hand, it was the greatest pickup line ever, you know, like tell a girl like, "Hey, babe, do you want to come to see our show? I can put you to the guest list." You know, that was great when you were 20, and it was like still the 80s, early 90s, you know. So that was the motive to start to play rock and roll, among others. And later on, of course, being 50 years old, being in this band 30 years, I'm more see things clearly. I mean, it's I belong on the road. That's where my life is. It's a very privileged life to live on the road, and that's the coolest thing I can think of is being on the road. It's amazing to have a chance to travel around, and also it's amazing every night when you have a chance to go on stage, play the songs for people who are appreciating that and who've been waiting for you to perform for them. And you share that magical moment with those people.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very simple as that, like everybody tells. But like that took a while for me to realize, and you have to go all the different phases there. I've been fucked up on stage. There's times that I was more interested in after parties, after shows, and so on. Sometimes in the early days, of course, it was cool to play. We played mostly cover songs by Alice Cooper, Iggy and the Stooges, New York Dolls, stuff like that. So music was there, but other antics were more interesting, especially as a young guy. But these days I feel I'm very comfortable writing songs for our 12th album, and like still keep it simple. It's simple rock and roll, and from the same influences, same sources, same inspirations than always. And it sounds like nothing but our band, but it sounds like anything is possible in the end as well.
Now, this album features several guest vocalists, including Cradle of Filth's Danny Filth, Wednesday 13, and Bisto Blanco's Calico Cooper. How was working with these folks on this album with you guys?
Everything's based on on our friendship. Our band has been playing 30 years. I've known Danny Filth like 25 years, and we've been touring. The 69 Eyes and Cradle of Filth have been touring in the U.S. in the past, and we've been friends, drinking buddies, everything between. And then, I just hadn't seen him for a decade. And then I ran into Danny Filth at the Rainbow Bar and Grill, from all the places in Hollywood. And I was like last year. And I felt that, all right, maybe we should do something for a change than just drink, together. And so he was interested in that, and our producer Johnny Lee Michaels had the idea that we had an opening track called Two Horns Up. It would be great to have Donnie on that song. So he had time to do that, and it sounds great. And we also did a music video that will come out like at the same time as the album comes out in the September 13th. And it's cool to have an old friend back, and also the other people are old school friends. I knew Wednesday 13 even before he was in Murder Dolls, and I got to know him when Murder Dolls was touring and playing in Helsinki, and then he became a solo artist as Wednesday 13. The 69 Eyes has toured with Wednesday 13 in Europe, UK, and in the US multiple times, and then there was also a decade between that we didn't see each other. And once again, I was in Hollywood. I was at the Whiskey A Go-Go this time. And Wednesday comes in, and I was like, cool to see you, man. What about doing something together for a change? And the same thing, he was excited. All right, cool, man. And we were still, like making of this new 69 Eyes album. So there was a song, horror punk song called The Last House on the Left. And the title is inspired by Wes Craven, of course. And I thought that would be perfect to have Wednesday on, and I asked if he could write the storyline for the song. I had the first verse, and I asked him to finish the story, and the story going, loosely along with the movie. So that happened, but we needed a female vocals because if you know the movie, The Last House on the Left, it's a revenge movie, and there's a female gets a revenge in the movie. And so Calico Cooper was the perfect choice. And she's also member of the 69 Eyes family. We filmed a music video, the 69 Eyes did, like some 15 years ago in LA. There's a song and a video called Never Say Die. And the band is playing in the middle of the night by LA River. And around us, there's like a glam punks and skateboarders jumping around when the band plays. And year after making the video, somebody points out like, oh, you have Alice Cooper's daughter on your video. And we're like, what? And, we didn't know that Calico and so Alex Cooper's daughter was in our video. So she's also qualified to be on our record from those those things. So we've been in touch, and she was perfect on that song. And to add like a cherry on a top, black cherry in this case, Donny Filth is also on the song The Last House on the Left. So it's kind of like your horror punk song and horror punk team up for Halloween 2019. So basically nothing makes any sense, but in a weird way, everything makes sense, and it's all rock and roll, you know.
Any song standing out more to you than any right now, Jyrki, on this album? I know it must change every time you listen to it or talk about it. I know you're close to these songs, but do you have any that stand out for you?
Oh yeah, that's a sick one. I have to warn you about this, and all the listeners, be careful with this, what I'm going to tell you. The last song is called Hell Has No Mercy. And it's a I don't know if anybody's listening for the albums in a chronological order anymore. And if somebody does, I can tell you that our guitarist changed the order of the tracks about like 4 times just to get it perfect. And meanwhile, I was trying to tell him, like, I don't think people listen to albums anymore like that. But, you know, we're old school, and he wanted to be, you know, it's his art. So, you know, he wanted to do it his way. So he actually changed the track order 4 times. But the only thing that remains was the first track, 2 Horns Up, and the last track, Hell Has No Mercy. Hell Has No Mercy is a song which is creepy, weird. I wouldn't say it's a ballad, but it's kind of weird, twisted, sick song, which has kind of AC/DC kind of guitar. And my inspiration for the lyrics and the vibe for the song comes, now I warned you about, comes from the 1969 biker movie called Satan's Sadists. And you remember Easy Rider was done in 1969. And
Yes,
after
sir.
that, after success of that, there was a couple of other biker movies, you know, some of them better, but some of them are like even well, I don't know. None of them can be better than Easy Rider, let's face it. But, you know,
Right.
but interesting, cool cult movies. So Satan's Sadists came also like 1969, and that's very interesting biker movie, and it has great music, amazing soundtrack. And I was a little bit jealous because the title track, theme from Satan's Sadists, is called Satan. And that has been covered by Glenn Danzig on his covers album Skeletons.
Uh-huh.
And I was a little bit like jealous, like, come on, man. Well, he did that. I would love to have done that. So in my mind, Hell Has No Mercy, the closing track of our new album, is like sort of song which could be like in the end of the movie Satan's Sadists, when the titles start to come up as a like a closing track of that movie. That's in my head, and that's what I wanted to share with you. It's a creepy, weird track, and you know, in my mind, it belongs to that movie from 1969.
Hey, man, more horror, the better. I eat, breathe, and sleep horror movies, horror music. I love everything about it. I'm excited for the new Halloween movie coming out again. The next
Oh,
two.
yeah. The previous one was also great.
You damn right it was.
And you know what I'm going to do first thing tomorrow morning?
What's that?
I'm going to see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I haven't seen it yet.
That's a
So
great
actually,
movie.
I got myself tickets, and it's going to be like 11 o'clock in the morning. But I want to see it as soon as possible because it just came out today here in Finland, and I'm doing this interview, so I had to change my ticket. So, you know.
It's great, man. You will not be disappointed.
Oh,
in that
you've
movie.
seen that?
It's a little, confusing a little bit, but I mean, it's good. It's good
Oh
stuff.
wow! But that's a movie for us, man. You know, like we and I, especially I support all the horror movies that come to the movie theaters. I go to see them in the movies. I support the scene, and you know what? I was obviously subscriber of Fangoria magazine back in the 80s, early 90s, and I'm subscriber again. You know?
Yeah, that's classic horror right there. That's how you got it. I mean,
yeah, what else? I'm fucking 50 years old and I'm subscriber of Fangoria. How nerdy is that?
Great. No, that is perfectly great stuff right there, my friend, because I think Fangoria magazine still holds the nucleus for horror stuff. That if it's kind of like music, man, like getting the Revolver magazines and Hit Paraders.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that right there, Fangoria magazine to horror fans is exactly what I just said.
Yeah, and there's great movies coming up,
Yes, sir,
and more than
are.
ever. And also like not repeat. Well, the Halloween you said that's great, but there's also like fresh, new, weird horror movies coming out, which are totally, you know, like who bring something totally new for the scene. But like you said, I can't wait for the second Halloween.
Jyrki, you need to check out a movie called Heredity, and I hope I said it right. Heredity.
Yes, because I just saw his latest movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fucking
so
awesome.
and so if you want a little bit like those are the movies that don't leave you alone.
Yep.
I'm not sure if I want to see that again. Definitely, I don't want to see this new movie again, this summer movie again. I don't want to see that, but I want it. They're really cool. They're fantastic.
What do you hope everyone takes away from any of the 69 Eyes music in general? What do you hope folks get from it when they listen to it?
Well, I think that will set them free, and also like our music, even though it's dark, it's not like seriously dark. It's there's always hope, and since like we've been talking about Elvis, horror movies, biker movies, you know, I would add there like comics as well. That's my background, pop culture in general. So they're not like the 69 Eyes music and what we represent. It's not really dark. It is dark, but there's always some slight hope or twist that turns into be more like just entertainment. So I hope that people could see things in different light. Just you know, like you can just bop to our music if somebody knows what it means, you know, or you know, or rock or bop to our music. And on the other hand, if there's some in the lyrics, which I of course have been writing very seriously, but if there's something that, you know, like helps you through or gives you, you know, some comfortable vibes, that's of course cool as well. You know, like a good example is, for instance, if it's in the end of the year when it's rainy and dark and you don't want to go out. When you look out from the window, like, oh, it's a horrible weather. But when you turn it around and think like, oh, that's fantastic Gothic weather, you know, perfect Gothic weather. You know, if you can turn those sometimes things in that kind of way around and see them in a different light. So if we can teach and gives you vibes for that would be cool. But basically, I just hope that everybody will feel free, stay young forever, you know, enjoy rock and roll, and, you know, respect that art form, you know, respect sunglasses, leather jackets, you know, all the cool things in life.
Slick hair, all that good stuff.
yeah, anything, you know, and you know, and remember, you know, Elvis.
You guys worked with your longtime friend and producer, Johnny Lee Michaels, on this album, of course. What's the appeal of working with him, and does he get anything extra out of you guys that maybe somebody else wouldn't?
He's tormenting us to death. Like, seriously, he's evil guy. He knows our soft spots, and he enjoys. Like, I know that for sure. He enjoys to torment us and gives us hard time. But on the other hand, he squeezes out all the, like, you know, like all the juices from best juices of us to each record. More than we don't skew, you know, we don't squeeze juice out of him. That he's doing that for us. But he's statistical to get the best out of us. I mean, when we started to do with him, I could sing like 7 or 8 hours for one song, which is insane. Saying if you ever get to know about history of rock, so check out how Phil Spector was producing their records back then. So it's John Lee Michaels is pretty close to the mythology of Phil Spector, like which is like some part of genius, part like a madman, and gives you really hard time. But in the end, the result is what matters. So once you suffered once or twice, you can rely on that, going through that suffering to get really cool stuff out. And on the other hand, I've learned in his hands to be such a singer that I can get pretty easily, the best out of me to the song. But, it's hard to, you have to live the song. No matter what instrument you play or sing, you have to be present in the very moment of the song and live with it. And that's something that you need producer, because there's outside world, especially you have like everything around the world, especially while you have like fucking mobile phone around or something. You have to forget everything. You have to live in every moment of that song. So he's great producer to bring that. Also, as a musician, he brings the keyboards and great arrangements for our song. So I would say the 69 Eyes is average rock and roll band. We know how to write songs, but then he brings the greatness to our music by bringing the arrangements there and adding some special melodic things there. We always write melancholic songs. That's why we come from, because we come from here, from, Nordic Europe, from Finland. So melancholy is in our heart. That's how our music is very different from any other music, because we know our melancholy, it's in our blood. And then that's something that John Lee Michael rises in our music. So he brings the melodies on top. So, that makes sure that we capture your heart.
The artwork for the album was created by sculptor Uri Geller. How was work with him on this?
He's old school friend of mine. He's a punk rocker. I got to know him in the early 90s as well, long time ago. And he had pretty cool Iggy and the Stooges kind of like noisy bands back then. Then I didn't hear from him like for 2 decades. And turned out to be like a very respected sculptor. You can check out from the internet. And his art is pop art. So I ran into him recently, and I said, like, what about like teaming up together, like with our guest artists who are singing on our album? Like, what about teaming up together? And I told the name of the album, West End, and he came up with the concept of like 5 black balloons, like sort of New Orleans funeral balloons, and they are not balloons; they are a sculpture, and the sculpture is big, and his art is very expensive. So if you go to some headquarters of a bank or something, then there will be his art, probably this one in the future as well. So that was really cool. He did that, and I always wanted to introduce some different ideas with the 69 Eyes in many ways, lyrics, artwork, So this was one of the things. It's different than anybody else has, and it's also what's interesting and cool to work with old friend as well.
What can fans expect at a show from the 69 Eyes who have not got to see you guys live as of yet? What are they going to get when they come to see you?
It's very simple. The guitars are sometimes in tune, sometimes out of tune. Microphone might work. It's old school. It's like we don't have any fireworks. We don't have we have backdrop if it fits, but we don't have any special light shows. It's just like it's old school rock and roll band that plays their own songs, and it sounds like them, and it's a music that matters. It's very simple. It's guys who've been playing rock and roll for 30 years, been on the road for 30 years, they come into your town, play in your saloon, but then again they play the songs that you wanted to hear live, that you came to listen to, and maybe you can sometimes even sing along. And then they sweat, and then they come to have a beer with you if you like.
Is there a country that stands out or shocks you that the 69 Eyes get support from, or your music even gets played in that area possibly? Is there anything that sticks out for you?
I think, it's amazing that over the years, and especially these days when you're talking about algorithms, in a case of when there's streaming services of your music, you can actually see really precisely where your music is listened to, even towns, countries. We have vampires devoted to the 69 Eyes all over the world. There is no country really that there wouldn't be somebody listen to the 69 Eyes. That's simply amazing. And we're privileged, and we are really lucky, but also we are happy to serve. So, we have, blood everywhere scattered around the planet. And, we're happy vampire family. And that's great in the year 2019.
And there's a vampire right here. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah. You know one when you meet one.
Folks, the 69 Eyes will release their new studio album, West End via Nuclear Blast, on September 13th. You want to get out and pick up this album, plus support this band. Jyrki, how can folks stay in touch with you, buy this album, merchandise, tour dates? How can they do that, good sir?
Yeah. Just follow the usual Instagram, Facebook, and we're going to announce when the album comes out, our North American tour. So we're coming over there. So it's time to have a good blood feast.
Before I let you go, good sir, would you care to do a promo for the show?
Yes, of course, sir. Dear vampires out there, this is Jyrki from the 69 Eyes, your favorite Helsinki vampire. And guess what? You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We've got some great stuff coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and BODS Mayhem Radio Network. Please get out and check out our Facebook page. It has our podcast link, YouTube links, and our Twitch link. And please subscribe and like our YouTube page. Everything podcast-wise, and if we do here on BODS Mayhem Hour, is going up on the YouTube page. Also, get out and support the 69 Eyes. You will not be disappointed. Great rock, great horror punk stuff from these guys. And trust me, they have put in their time, blood, sweat, and tears in this. Great fucking stuff. So, Jyrki, thank you so much for the interview, and I've been a fan for a very long time. Keep up what you guys are doing, and please still stick around.
Thank you so much. And remember, for madmen only. And remember, rock and roll is never too loud.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.